to our meeting tonight. First thing we'll do is introductions. And so when you're asking a question or whatever, turn your cameras on, but when you're not or introducing yourself, we ask you that you turn them off so it doesn't get too confusing. So I'll introduce myself first. My name's John Carton. I'm chair of the committee.
I am James Davenport. I'm vice chair of the committee.
Ronald Decker, a member of the committee.
Alexa Mavrodis, member of the committee and chair of the accessibility sub.
Herschel Cantor, a member of the committee and the accessible subcommittee.
Okay. Other committee members?
Hi, everyone. This is Francis Kroll, member of the committee.
Okay. Other committee members? Any other committee members out there? If not, let's go to staff.
And I'll start. I'll just call on staff as to go down the list. Pierre Holloman, Assistant Transit Chief. And I see next is Clinton Edwards.
Good evening, Clinton Edwards, Transit Services Manager.
Diana.
Okay.
Diana Isasa, Project Manager with the Transit Bureau.
Okay.
Kirk.
Kirk Dand, Arlington County's WMATA Service Coordinator.
All right.
Lauren.
Lauren Breyer, Transit Management Intern.
Okay.
Lynn.
Lynn Rivers, Transit Bureau Chief.
All right, good.
Paul.
Paul Mounier, Service Planner for the ART system.
Okay.
Robin.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Robin McElhenney. I'm the Transit Capital Program Manager.
All right.
Stephen.
Stephen Frazier, Transit Marketing and Community Outreach Manager.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, I believe that's all the staff. We do have several members who have joined us, and we also have several guests on the phone as well as on Teams.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the guests to introduce themselves if they will.
Also, Ryan Jones from Arlington Transit.
Okay.
Hi, this is Andre Stafford, Metro Bus Planning, Virginia Bus Service.
All right. Okay, so we have members of the public.
Hi, this is Doris Ray, and I'm a member of the Disability Advisory Commission and also work at the Independence Center of Northern Virginia, and just happen to be a member of the WMATA Accessibility Advisory Committee.
Okay. Other members of the public? Okay, anybody else that has not introduced themselves? Okay, any other members of the committee joined?
I'm Harvey Berlin. I'm a member of the Transit Advisory Committee.
Okay.
Hi, Patrick Thompson joined, member of TAC.
Okay. All right, anybody else we missed out there? Okay, if not, let's go ahead and start the meeting. First item here is public comment. And this is where members of the public can comment for 2 minutes. And this is opportunity for the public to speak. Once we get into the meeting, we ask the discussion be limited to the staff and members of the committee. So would any of the public like to speak? Okay. If
Hi,
not,
sorry, I just got unmuted. I was having trouble unmuting.
okay, that's fine. You've got 2 minutes here to share with us anything you'd like to.
Thank you. I, as I said, am a member of the Disability Advisory Commission and also a member of the disability community. So Independence Center in Northern Virginia is a community resource center serving people with disabilities, people with all types of disabilities of all ages. And we are concerned about a number of issues. The first being the apparent resurrection of a proposal for changes in STAR services that was presented last year by staff, but we understood to be withdrawn in order to have civic engagement to discuss the kinds of changes that might be made and then prepare a new version. So we want to express our concerns about that if this comes up at this committee. And also here at the TAC, we want to express concern that the taxi industry is seeking increases in fares, and yet the service provided to the riding public, and I certainly am a regular taxi user in Arlington, and the service has gone downhill since 2017 and is deplorable when it takes sometimes an hour, even 2 hours to try to get a cab, and yet full-paying customers are expected to pay increases now. I think that the TAC should scrutinize that and not let this go forward. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Doris, for sharing your thoughts with us this evening. Okay, Pierre, do we have a quorum at this point?
Yes, we have a quorum.
Okay. Let's go ahead and consider the minutes, approval of the minutes from the January 17th meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay, any discussion of the minutes? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Okay, so the minutes are approved. So let's go on to the next item here, which is introduction of the new transit services manager.
Members of the committee.
And Harvey, I'm going to ask you to, Pierre, Harvey, I'm going to ask you to turn your camera off, please, just so it isn't distracting.
Okay,
Okay, Pierre.
I'm going to try to do that, but I'm having difficulty, but I'll do what I can. Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, members of the committee, just want to introduce Lynn. She has some great news to share with everyone. So Lynn, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Pierre. Committee members, I'm very excited to introduce our new staff member, our new team member, Clinton Edwards has joined us, is all of 2 weeks old at this point. And we're excited to say that he has joined us as the Transit Services Manager with oversight of ART and STAR and all of the transit services that you see that's visible to the community. Clinton comes to us from DRPT, where he was the transit program manager for all of Northern Virginia. So has extensive background, but I'll let Clinton share a little bit more with you. But I just wanted to say that we're happy to have him here, that we were really beating the bushes to find a good person to fill some shoes and to join this team. So just wanted to welcome Clinton. Clinton?
Oh, that's great news.
Thank you, Ms. Rivers. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, as has been stated, my name is Clinton Edwards, and I'm happy and proud to be serving as the Transit Services Manager with Arlington County. I had the pleasure of serving the Commonwealth of Virginia for the past 6 years prior to this assignment with the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation, and previous to that, was serving 10 years in the greater Richmond area, the River City community at GRTC Transit System in various roles. And I cut my teeth in public transportation, down in Southwest Virginia at Blacksburg Transit. Go Hokies. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you all for having me. And I look forward to working with each of you all to continue to improve transit services in Arlington County.
Great. It's great to have you with us here, Clinton. And I know the staff there, Lynn and Pierre and all them, are glad to have the additional help. They've been having to wear a lot of hats here recently. Okay, so welcome aboard. Now, our next item is future of TAC meetings on hybrid and virtual.
So good evening again. At the last TAC meeting on January 17th, a poll was sent out to note the preference for future meetings. As previously noted, there are committees that are meeting either 100% virtual or some meetings are hybrid and virtual. Based on the feedback we received in the poll, there were 7 votes in favor of doing future hybrid meetings and 5 in favor of staying all virtual. At this time, the TAC can have a discussion on what potential meetings shall be hybrid in the future, because we do need to coordinate in terms of rooms available, as well as getting staff resources to help facilitate those meetings that are going to be at the county's Bosman Government Center. So additional poll could be sent out to the TAC members, or the TAC could have a quick discussion tonight about it. The future upcoming TAC meetings, as noted, are May 9th, 2023. The July 18th meeting is in person and is exclusively part of the annual Transit Capital Project Tour. So the options for future hybrid meetings include May 9th, 2023, September 12th, 2023, and November 14th, 2023. We did receive one member did note a preference to have one meeting, and that's the November 14th, 2023 meeting. But the floor is open to the TAC itself tonight, or noting if there's a preference to do a poll, that's fine. I can send a poll out to get feedback, or you all can have discussions this evening.
Okay.
I would agree with the majority, 7 that voted in favor of hybrid meetings.
Okay. I don't have a strong preference either way. I think I've been impressed with how well the virtual works. And I think maybe there's times when that helps improve our attendance, but having hybrid, gives people both options. Pierre, are there any particular meetings besides, certainly our Transit Capital Tour that you would recommend we have as hybrid?
I would suggest the TAC make that decision. As noted, a member has noted that November 14th is their preference, but it's good to hear feedback from others. For those who voted in favor of the hybrid, any suggestions, and like I mentioned, I can send out a poll if no one has any suggestions tonight. I can send out a poll just to get feedback on what potential future meetings that we want to set aside as hybrid.
I would make a motion that we have hybrid meetings as the majority has voted. I'd make that motion, please.
Okay, there needs to be a second for that.
And just to clarify, this motion is to say that all meetings should be hybrid.
Yes.
My
Yeah, I'll
thought,
second on
just
the
to
Okay.
interject.
Wait
Go
just a
ahead.
minute. Let's see if there's a second.
I will second it. Did you hear me?
No, okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I
Discussion.
was just gonna say, I mean, my thought is we try to do, one meeting this year in the hybrid environment, either the September or November, just to give everyone sufficient time on the county end and see how it goes.
Right, and I would join with that suggestion that maybe we do the September meeting hybrid. I know that, as I understand it, the hybrid takes a lot more work for the staff in terms of, making sure everything goes smoothly. I've also noticed that in some hybrid meetings I've been in, where I've either been at the meeting or, been virtual, that sometimes it's hard to coordinate the discussion so that everybody can hear and see the same things. So those are my comments. Any other comment on it? All right, so we have a motion on the floor, and let's see, the motion, once you repeat that motion again, Harvey.
That future meetings and we could, if the next one takes more time to arrange, but after the next one, after the next meeting, subsequent future meetings be hybrid.
You're saying all meetings?
All meetings except for the next meeting to give time to prepare that. So for all meetings of the TAC except for the next meeting would be hybrid. The next meeting could be only virtual.
So what you mean by that, Harvey, is that everyone can choose how they attend, or do you mean?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. So why don't we go ahead and vote on this if there's no other discussion? So the motion is that all meetings would have the hybrid option, which starting with the September meeting, because it wouldn't be the May meeting and it wouldn't be the July meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So all in favor of this, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Could we do a roll call vote, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, let's do that, Pierre. Why don't you go ahead?
Just quick before we do that, I want to clarify. So the option is hybrid, meaning there's a room in the Arlington County building that would be set up, that staff would have to set up. And then there would be some sort of audio equipment where folks could stream in and they could choose how they attend.
Yes.
Okay. And so what we're voting on is that hybrid model, and then the alternative is either is that we continue to do it virtually.
Yes.
Only virtually. Okay.
Yes.
Just to clarify, the motion is for all future meetings outside of the May TAC meeting and the July TAC meeting to be all hybrid. There was also comment of having select meetings throughout the year as hybrid and not all meetings.
The motion was what you stated at the beginning, that future meetings, not in the next two meetings, would be virtual only as they have been in the past, and subsequent meetings would be hybrid.
Okay, I'm voting nay just because I want to have some flexibility here on which meetings we choose to be.
I'm voting
hybrid.
yeah. I'm voting yay. Yes.
Okay, I can just go down and do the roll call. Sorry about that. Alexa.
Aye.
Francis.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye. Yay.
Herschel,
Abstain.
James,
Yeah, let me say that I've been on this for 20 years. It's hard for me to believe that I won't be rotated off, but so I don't think I have that I ought to vote.
You can still vote, Harvey, because you're on the committee now.
Yeah, but it's for other
But you
people.
can choose whatever you want to do.
I abstain.
okay. James,
Nay.
John,
Nay.
Andrew,
Nay.
Ronald,
Aye.
and Patrick.
Nay.
We have a stalemate.
Okay, well, the motion doesn't carry then.
It doesn't carry.
Okay, so as it stands now, our our May meeting will be virtual. Our July meeting will be in person because we'll be touring projects. And then our September meeting will be hybrid. And then we can figure at that time how we want to proceed after that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good. All right. Well, let's move on with our next project, which is South Georgia Mason Drive.
I'll turn the floor over to Leah. She's going to be presenting tonight.
Okay.
Leah, you're muted.
Can everyone see the presentation?
Yes.
Great. I can go ahead and get started. My name is Leah Gerber. I am a transportation planner, really focused on bike and pedestrian planning within TPCPM, which is the Transportation Planning Capital Program Management Office, which is a sister bureau, you could say, to the Transit Department, all located within DES. And I'm a project manager for the South George Mason Drive multimodal corridor study. I want to preface that we're going into phase 3, so this will be more of a preview to upcoming engagement, and there will be opportunities to learn kind of more about the full intersections we'll be presenting on March 22nd.
Okay.
So brief
Now, before you
overview.
start, let me just say something before you start. I'm going to encourage people to save their questions to the end so that we make the best use of our time. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Leah.
Thank you. That would be great. And I made sure I'll keep the presentation somewhat brief because I know Pierre mentioned wanting to have some time for Q&A and discussion. So definitely willing to take those questions. So first off, I'll be going over kind of a study overview, why we're doing this study, and then talk a little bit about, what we heard from the first 2 rounds of community engagement. The first round was really about existing conditions on South George Mason, and then the second was we presented a few corridor-wide cross-sections that we brought to community engagement, and then I'll talk a little bit about next steps. So the study goals, really the purpose of this study is to develop our preliminary plan to improve safety along all of South George Mason Drive. And I want to emphasize that this project is multimodal, so it's really gained at people who are, walking, rolling, riding transit, cycling, and driving. So we're really trying to improve safety and access for all users. And there's a few things that are really kind of guiding this study. The first being county planning guidance. So we have, the modal elements like the bike element, the pedestrian element, the transit element of the master transportation plan. We also have data analysis and research that we did in coordination with consultants who are working on this study. So really looking at traffic speed and how the road is currently being used. Also interdepartmental coordination, so really working with partners in Department of Recreation, CPHD, which is community planning, to really think about how we can kind of improve the corridor really through multiple lenses. And then also, last but definitely not least, is public engagement. So how does the community, see South George Basin now, and how would they like it to look, in 5, 10, 15 years? And this is the study area. So you can see really at the top of the screen here, we're starting at Arlington Boulevard and then traveling down through Columbia Pike to end really right at the Fairfax-Arlington County border. You can see that that's the entirety of the study area, but what we're focusing on for this 15% design is really the southern portion from Columbia Pike down to the county line.
Leah, your slides don't seem to be advancing here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
For me
weird.
too.
I'm just seeing the blue slide.
Oh, really? Let me try a different way. Maybe I'll just try to share it on. Thank you for letting me know. I would have just kept going. I'm gonna try to do it online and see if that helps. What about now?
Okay, that's good.
The
Now we
last
can
slide
see
for
it.
some reason. 1 second. Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. Can anyone see my screen now?
Not now.
No, I can't.
No.
What about now?
There you go.
We see the first
Okay.
page.
Is this the second page now or still the first
Yeah,
page?
yes.
Yes.
Meeting
You got
agenda?
it. You got it now.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're back. Sorry about that, everyone. Can everyone see the study area?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'll start over just because this is a important part. So this is the 2-mile study area that I was mentioning earlier. Now you can actually see it starts at Arlington Boulevard toward the top of the page and travels down through Columbia Pike and then hits the Fairfax-Arlington County border. As I mentioned, that's the entirety of the study area, but we'd really aiming to submit a 15% design for the southern portion, mostly really to basically have that 15% design ready so that we could submit it for grants when those do come up. We divided the corridor into these segments kind of based on the cross sections of the existing road and also just neighborhoods. So really segment 1 is Arlington Boulevard to Columbia Pike that you can see highlighted in yellow. We have segment 2, which is Columbia Pike to South 4 Mile Run Drive, highlighted in that pink color. And then finally, South 4 Mile Run Drive to the county line, highlighted in the teal color. And you can see some of the assets that are along this corridor. There's parks, we have the WNOD trail and the 4 Mile Run Trail. We have multiple schools. And it's also important to note that we have 2 Vision Zero hotspots. So these are areas where we have, pretty high crash rates relative to the rest of the county. And these are at the intersections of Columbia Pike and South 4 Mile Run Drive. So before I kind of get into some of the details, I just want to touch base on, where we came from and where we are now. You can see from the beginning of this timeline, in fall, winter of 2021, really DES and DOT staff identified the need to make improvements on South George Mason Drive, but we needed to study it further. So this study really kicked off in April 2022. We had a virtual meeting, we had online engagement and walking tours, and that really focused on existing conditions. So what was out there, what did people want improved, all from a bike, ped, transit, and driving standpoint. And then we moved on in summer or July 2022 to an in-person community workshop. We also had a virtual meeting to really focus on cross sections, so what the roadway would look like with sidewalks and buffer space and bike lanes. And you can see now we're meeting specifically on intersection concepts. So we'll have a virtual community meeting on March 22nd, 2023, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then we'll move forward with commission briefings, with the ultimate goal being to submit grant applications using the information gained from the study and move forward with eventual capital projects. So this is what we heard kind of from the first engagement. And the reason that this is relevant to today's discussion is because I want to show kind of the overlap between what we heard from the community and then what we'll be, presenting for intersections and what we're presenting for cross sections as well. So like I mentioned, we had kind of a variety of engagement opportunities. The community kickoff meeting, we had some good walking tours, and we got quite a bit of feedback from the online questionnaire with about 404 responses. You can see the perception of safety by mode. So we basically ask, how safe do you feel while traveling on South George Mason Drive using these different types of transportation? You could see generally with bikes and scooters, people felt very unsafe or unsafe. It starts to improve a little bit with pedestrians, but not much. Driving, generally people feel neutral or safe, and transit users as well feel, generally neutral or safe. We asked people, what changes would you like to see for all segments? And we divided those into 3, but generally the responses were the same. So you can see that 50% of people wanted safer intersections, followed by protected bike lanes and slower vehicular traffic. But it's important to note that additional crosswalks were high on the list. We also had this map that had about 625 pins, and there were quite a bit of, comments and concerns regarding intersections. I've highlighted some of those comments here, but generally a lot of those comments were about Arlington Boulevard and South 4 Mile Run Drive and Columbia Pike, where we do have crash hotspots, and there are, quite a few issues. But we also had, concerns about long crosswalks, short crossing times, things like updated curb ramps at other parts of South George Mason as well. So then we had phase 2, where we kind of introduced these quarter-wide concepts through, virtual community meeting, once again, an online questionnaire and a community workshop. And what we found was that people kind of once again ranked their priorities based on each section. They were generally the same. So 70% of people ranked a bikeway as one of their top 3 priorities, with sidewalks being the second, and then vehicle travel lanes as the third. It's important to know that for segment 3, which is Columbia Pike to the county line, that sidewalks and a dedicated bike lane were swapped. So sidewalks are actually ranked as the highest priority. This is just an overview of kind of which concept provided the most benefit. And you can see here that generally, concept B was perceived as providing more benefit, specifically looking at public transit for this group. And we can also see here the preferred alternatives, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I think generally it's important to note that concept A was the concept that had 6-foot sidewalks, buffer space, but did have protected bike lanes on the street, while segment B kind of has all of these same upgrades, but has a multi-use trail on the east side. And across all preferred segments, we had essentially this concept B, which I'll talk about in a second. Once again, comment themes, we had an area for open-ended comments. A lot of these related to parking concerns, reiterated support for the project, and just concern for the interaction of people using a potential multi-use trail. So this is what's here today on segment 1. You can see highlighted in the corner, it's Arlington Boulevard to Columbia Pike. This is what we have here today. You can see we have, 2 travel lanes in each direction, a pretty narrow buffer space, 4-foot sidewalks, 3-foot buffer, and parking. The preferred concept is right here. So you have the east side trail, widening that buffer space, narrowing some of the travel lanes, removing parking on the east side, maintaining it, and actually widening it a little bit on the west side, and widening those sidewalks. Segment 2, this is what you have here today. This is by Barcroft Apartments. So from Columbia Pike to South 4 Mile Run Drive. And I should note that what we're proposing is all within the existing right-of-way. Here, we're really gaining that space from reducing the median and also reducing some of the travel lanes. And then finally, this cross-section from South 4 Mile Run Drive to the county line. This is what's here today. Once again, we have those pretty narrow sidewalks, narrow buffer space, pretty large vehicular lanes and median. And this is continuing that east side trail with the wider buffers, maintaining parking on both sides, narrowing the median, and narrowing those vehicular travel lanes. So next steps. So like I mentioned, here's the visual. So really kind of getting an idea of what we heard from phase 1, which is existing conditions, what we heard from phase 2, the corridor-wide concepts, and now we're moving into intersections. So we have a few upcoming public engagement opportunities, the first being a virtual community meeting starting at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, March 22nd. It's important to note that, we will be uploading those slides in multiple languages to the website, and there will also be a Spanish language presentation. On that same day, the 22nd, there will be an online feedback form that'll be open for comment. That's a really great way to just kind of let us know your input, and we'll be taking all of those into account. Then we'll also be having 2 pop-ups at Barcroft Apartments. Feel free to stop by those if you'd like, and we may have some pop-up events along the WNOD and other locations based on weather. If you have any questions, feel free to contact myself. Here's my email information, or Nate Graham, who is working on public engagement for this project. I know that was quite a bit of information, but I wanted to keep it brief so we had some time for a Q&A and discussion. So if there's any questions, feel free to let me know.
Okay, Leah, I've got a question for you. And a comment. What were the 2 Vision Zero hotspots along there?
Yeah, the first one is, I can go back actually.
No, you can just tell me.
You can go
Okay.
back. Go back would be good.
I'm just trying to save time.
So it's these Vision Zero hotspots highlighted on the image with the red dash circles. So the first is South George Mason and Columbia Pike, and the second is South George Mason and South 4 Mile Run Drive, both major and minor.
Okay, no surprise. The only comment I have here is I'm a little concerned about narrowing the travel lanes on this road because particularly when we're running big art buses and other buses along there, it's problematic to have a narrower lane and trying to share it with bikes and everything else. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's a great point. We've worked with transit to ensure that the outside lane is always 11 feet, which is the minimum for transit. And the hope is that if, we have a trail on the east side, that would really eliminate the need for bikes to be in the travel lanes, and they would all just use the trail. So it would eliminate conflict, hopefully, between transit and cyclists. But that's something we'll keep in mind.
Okay, good. Other questions for Leah?
Leah, this is James. I noticed that the cycle track, I think it was from George May, not George, from 50 to Columbia Pike. Is that correct? The cycle track?
Yeah, Arlington.
Okay. And
It'll be a multi-use trail.
Okay.
It does kind of look cycle track-esque in this because of the dash lines, but it'll be a trail, similar to, I guess, a little more narrow than the Custis.
Okay. And that'll continue the entire corridor?
Yep, on the east side.
On the east side, okay.
Or northbound side.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
How far does the corridor go to? How far does it go towards when you're going towards Route 50? How far does it go towards Route 50?
Yeah, so it crosses. So it'll stop. So basically, the thing that we're trying to link to is the Arlington Boulevard Trail study that's being worked on now. So the goal would to be connecting this proposed trail to the improved Arlington Boulevard Trail, but we do have pretty broad intersection concepts for how to get across Arlington Boulevard. The timeline on that is a little different than the other intersections because a lot of it would depend on when VDOT would plan on redoing the bridge at Arlington Boulevard.
Thank you. I would just share the concern expressed by the chairman of the TAC about the reducing the width of the travel lanes.
Okay.
Thank you for your
Noted.
information.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, we do have a question in the chat from Mr. Thompson. Do narrow lanes also have the benefit of slowing traffic down? If yes, this could help reduce accidents.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question and comment. Yeah, the point of reducing lanes is to slow down traffic and then also to reduce the amount of space that pedestrians have to cross in order to cross South George Mason. But we're definitely hoping that, that will serve as a traffic calming measure. And that's something we're doing in other areas as part of Vision Zero.
Okay, great. Let's see, Steve Frazier has a question.
Yeah, so I just was curious about the speed limit how much would it be reduced to?
I think we would have to once again use and reference the multimodal toolbox that was made as a part of Vision Zero, and that's something we touch on kind of in this upcoming engagement. Right now, there is a slow school zone at Wakefield, which makes it 20 miles an hour at certain times of the day when school is getting in and letting out. I think the ideal would be to maybe try to get 25 on this road. We looked at speeds here, and generally people were going about 10 miles over. I think a lot of it's due to topography. You have some hilly areas where people are going down really fast. You have some curves people are taking quite quickly. So I think the ideal would be 25, but honestly, I can't speak to it until the engineers can kind of run their analysis on that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Leah.
Mm-hmm.
It's due to time, I think we better move on here. So we'll look forward to further updates on this in the future, Leah. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, the next item here is the Arlington Transit and Star Online Data Dashboard.
Lauren?
Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren. I'm with Arlington Transit Operations Team. I'm going to start by going over the Arlington Transit Service Data Dashboard. We've heard your concerns on having visualized data accessible online. And yeah, so our goal that we kind of worked together was that this dashboard would be a tool to capture, visualize, and share with the public arts service performance data, and making sure it was an interactive tool that could be that had graphs, tables, and summary text in order for us to maintain data transparency. So first, I'm going to go over how we use it, and then and how the public will use it, and then we'll go into some future discussions and opening it up to questions at the end. So and you'll be able to receive a link after this that takes you to this public page. Right now, it is a demo page, but this is something of what it would look like. Underneath one of these tabs, you'd get Transit Performance Dashboard, and this is the beginning of it. Down here, there's a little tool that would open it to full screen mode so that you can see it fully. We have 6 performance metrics that we have at the top. These are all clickable that you can share, that you can change to. You can also use this arrow down here. All 6 have the same format. You've got the title and legend in the top left corner. The legend has both different colors per year as well as shapes for accessibility. You've got the label on the left. In this case, we're looking at ART system-wide ridership. So you've got passenger trips with months on the bottom. Underneath the months, you've got a summary text that gives an idea of what you're looking at, including where the data is sourced and a link to the PDF versions. As well, on the right, you have these, we have the table with the same information, and all of these tabs will have in the upper right-hand corner selection menus. So in this case, we're looking at ART system-wide ridership, and I love this tool for a couple of reasons. You can compare over time as one of the useful notions of this. Also, holding over each month, you can see the numbers as is. So, for example, I've selected 2019 and 2022. You can see the comparison of where we were and where we're going. So this is system-wide. I've broken it down as well to route level. Again, I go to the upper right-hand corner and you can search by route. So if you want to look at 41, it'll change in real time, and the legend will also change. So let's say we're looking at years. Again, I like doing the 2019, 2022. You see 41 over time. Let's see, then we have service efficiency is another metric. This is, again, selectable by year. On-time performance is another indicator. Currently, because we have all routes selected in the top right selection pane, we are looking at system-wide on-time performance. But if you'd like to look at a specific route, you can select, Route 41, and again, it will change in real time. This is also illustrated in the bottom section. Select all for system-wide, select for individual routes. So it's again, we are open for any feedback that you have in terms of the usability. And you can hover over to see the different years and their percentages. We've got miles between road calls as a measure, and as well as star ridership over at the end. So we have these 6. We have a couple of plans going forward to include a little bit more metrics. We wanted to add more service performance metrics. We also want to phase out some of the PDFs and look at the timeline on what that's going to look like, and create a channel for customer feedback as well as your feedback. So if you have any, now is the time we'll have some open-ended question time. But we would like to have any feedback after this time right now to be emailed to Pierre by March 24th. So is there
Okay.
any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, Alexa's got a question for you.
Yes, I just was wondering, I'm always concerned about accessibility, so I'm wondering, do we know if this website is usable by folks using screen readers, like blind people that might need, to be able to see the data, as text?
It's my understanding that Power BI is readable by with that software.
I am glad that you thought about that. I don't have it myself, so I can't test that theory, but I'm glad that that was something that you guys considered, because sometimes I see websites that are gorgeous and then I ask about that and people are like, what? So
yes, I'm going to double check on that, and as we go forward, when we upload it to the website, we want to ensure that it maintains that ability. But it's to the best of my ability at this moment that it is readable with the giving audio to the visuals. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Lauren? Okay. If not, Lauren, thank you very much. That's really great to see. Like that interactive nature. Okay, so the next item here is our Arlington Transit Strategic Plan update and what's to come. And Harvey, I'm going to ask you to turn your camera off again.
Good evening, Paul Mounier with Arlington Transit Bureau.
Okay.
I don't have a presentation. I'm just going to real quickly run down some of the key dates that are coming up with the Transit Strategic Plan. We're working right now on finalizing the recommendations that we are going to put out to the public for public comment. We have a virtual meeting on March 23rd that is going to start the second round of public outreach for the Transit Strategic Plan. As I said, we are finalizing the recommendations and taking those to the public for comment to see if we have, based on the research and previous public outreach, captured what the needs of the community are. So March 23rd, that kicks off. There's going to be a series of pop-up meetings around the county. At least 16 meetings is what we're planning for right now to get out into the field and meet people on the street where they are. I thought it was successful in the first round. And then once that closes, we will be taking the comments. reviewing our recommendations and making adjustments to the plan as needed. If we do have any misses or we overlooked anything, or if there is just disagreement with what we're recommending. After that, we develop a constrained financial plan for over the next 10 years, how we're going to provide service, and the board will approve that in probably very late summer, early fall, August, September timeframe. I would say that I would probably come back to this committee in May once we have completed the public outreach to give you a summary of what the public outreach is and discuss how we may change recommendations. So that is a quick summary of what's going on. Are there any questions?
Okay. Any questions for Paul? Paul, I got one question for you. If you could just sort of briefly describe what a couple of those pop-ups might look like in terms of the people you're reaching and where you're reaching them and so forth.
I know one of a couple of the locations that we went to previously and that we're going to return to is Dinwiddie and Columbia Pike. That is a major hub for us and has some of our most important routes originate there. Shirlington Transit Station. I'm trying to think. Columbia Pike at Glebe Road we went to. We will be doing some in the north. We're working on identifying locations up in the north part of the county to hold some meetings. But essentially it's a group of us go out, probably a group of 4. We should have iPads with the questions on it that will be also on the same questions that we'll be asking via an online survey, but actually getting out and talking to people and asking them, if they want to provide input.
Okay, good. All right, other questions for Paul?
So there's a question in the chat about having Spanish speakers. Paul?
Yeah, for every pop-up that we go to, we do have someone that will be with us that speaks Spanish. That was extremely important in the first round. Also, all materials will be translated into, I think, the 5 major languages that APS recognizes being spoken in the schools. So there will be multi-language materials available. But we will have a Spanish speaker with us in the field at each one of these pop-ups.
Okay, that's good. Okay, other comments or questions for Paul? Okay, if not, let's go on to the WMATA subsidy and 16M update.
Hey everyone, this is Kirk Dan, the WMATA service coordinator for Arlington County. Just to start off with, I want you guys to know that all the budget material can be found at wmata.com/budget. There were 3 hearings last week that were one was in Maryland, one was in DC, one was in Virginia. And then on Friday, there was a virtual hearing where the public was able to comment on the proposed budget. I'm going to share my screen for a couple of slides. So I was asked to speak about the, should be able to see the slide now. Can you see it?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So I was asked to speak about the subsidy, and I took this straight from the budget book. Last year's was around $80 million. This year, our base is 83.3. There's 2.2 in legislative exclusions. Those exclusions are the Potomac Yard Rail Station, And the improvement of bus service. One is the B2 in the District of Columbia. The next is A12 in Maryland. And then the much anticipated 16M. Andre was kind enough to give me an updated version of the, can you see the map?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay,
Paul,
so
turn your camera off.
Andre was kind enough to give me the updated version of the path of travel for the 16M from in the budget book. It has it going down 18th, but they're going to have it go down 15th Street to start off with. It is in the proposed budget for 12 minutes all day. We have applied with NBTC to have 6 minutes in the peak period in the peak direction. That's one of their caveats for the commuter choice program, because it's the intention of it is to reduce the cars being used for commuting. So that we did apply for that. They are in their technical reviews right now for the selections. There's some back and forth going on, and if awarded, those monies would be available as early as July 1st. Now, one thing to keep in mind is WMATA has a driver shortage, or otherwise known as operator shortage. So WMATA signed the general manager signed a letter of support with the caveat that the budget is approved, because this is in a proposed budget. The board would need to approve the budget with the 16M in it. And that would generally take place, the approval will generally take place in April. And then the second caveat is that they would overcome the driver shortage. And once that happens, then we could hope that at the next union bid that they would have that part of the bid or part of the pick, depending on what you want to call it, and that they would then have those increased frequencies available. The capital improvement plan has us, and this is part of a years out type of thing, but in this fiscal year 24, we're looking at 24.1 million being assigned to Arlington, and it's divvied up based on the amount of the service that is in your area. And I'm going to now open it up for questions, which I haven't had time to do in the recent past because my presentations are so long. So what can I answer for you guys?
I got a question for you. And that is, in terms of the money that's in the budget there, is that in sync with what the county manager has for Metro?
I believe that these are the numbers that were provided to the county for their proposed budget.
How does the proposed FY24 amounts for the 85 million and the 24 point, how do they compare with the previous year's budget?
Well, the previous year was 79.6, basically 80. And then there were exclusions on that as well. So every year, what happens is there's some legislation in effect that says that the Commonwealth can't exceed 3% growth. And then what happens is the Commonwealth's total amount is generally changed by 3% in the upward state, and then it's then divvied by the amount of service that's in your area amongst the sub-jurisdictions like Alexandria, Arlington, City of Fairfax, Fairfax County, City of Falls Church, and Loudoun. Loudoun is in the mix now because of the new rail stations. So there's a 4.7% increase this year to Arlington as a sub-jurisdiction.
And how does the 24.1 million compare to what it was in the previous years?
I don't have that data in front of me, but I can get it to you.
Thank you.
Because we just the CIP or the CFA, the agreement was just went into effect last year, so I'd have to look back at what last year's stuff was.
Thank you.
Okay, Kirk, I got another question for you, and that is, how's the ridership holding up on the Silver Line? And then secondly, when does it look like the Potomac Yard station will be opening?
The second one's an easy one. It's May.
Okay.
We're not sure whether it's going to coincide on the exact same date or not. It would be great if it did, but the yellow line is also going to be opening in May.
Okay.
The Silver Line ridership is still going leaps and bounds. And I want to say that, let's see, yeah, last week I was at a board meeting. They said that the ridership was once again at an all-time high. So we're still obviously not to pre-pandemic, and that's not forecasted to happen until after 2025. I believe this year's ridership overall, it's being budgeted at 70% of, so 30% lower than what the pre-pandemic ridership was for revenue purposes. I believe in 2025 they're looking at 75%, and then hopefully after that things will start getting back to normal. But there's some speculation as to whether the pre-pandemic levels will ever be seen again, because of the amount of telework that's being done, and especially with the federal workers.
Mm-hmm. Well, this Silver Line, has a unique niche in that it's strong connection to Dulles, and people I talk with are really excited about, if they have a flight out of Dulles taking the Silver Line, being able to get in and out that way rather than pay $75 for an Uber or cab or something like that. So
right. And one thing that I do want to bring up is that starting in June, they have to replace the guide rails on the orange line. So the end of the line will be Ballston, and then there will be shuttle buses that will then take you up to the next stop after the next stop on the Silver Line after
East
that.
Falls Church.
Oh.
No, East Falls Church.
No.
Let's see. East Falls Church is going to be shut. West Falls is shut, and then what's the when the Silver Line breaks off?
We're going to be going between Boston and McLean.
It breaks off.
Which one?
East Falls Church.
McLean.
McLean. Yeah. Sorry. So there'll be a shuttle bus from there to what he said.
Okay.
And that's going to be taking place through July. So there'll be all of the affected stations that are shut will be having shuttle service.
Okay. Other questions for Kirk? Okay, I've got one more for you, Kirk, and that is that original proposal in DC for free bus in the city. What's the status of that at this point?
I've not heard anything recently. Andre, have you?
Right now, everything's on hold regarding the DC free fare and 24-hour service.
Okay.
So the official word is, to be determined.
Okay. All right. Other questions for Kirk? All right. Thank you, Kirk. Appreciate it.
Be safe.
Okay. Okay, our next item here is the report from the Accessibility Subcommittee. Alexa?
Hi, everybody. I mostly am a little bit concerned. We have been told we still don't know when public engagement exactly is going to be for the STAR proposals, but we have heard at our last meeting that apparently what's going to be considered are the proposals that were put out last year with no amendments to them. And on the one hand, I understand, I think the idea is making sure that everybody who is able to make comments on the proposals sort of gets the same thing to look at. So I can kind of understand that, but I also feel troubled, and I believe that we heard the same thing from some of the people that gave.
Missing middle study, what is the distance from Metro Rail stations?
I think somebody may need to mute themselves. Anyway, my concern is that the subcommittee and the many people that gave us public comment through our meetings are concerned that if no changes at all have been made to the proposals, have we been heard? Just off the top of my head, one of the things that I can think of that folks were concerned about was there was a proposal to change reasonable accommodation, the way reasonable accommodations worked to something that was, I can't remember exactly, came from a particular sort of standard. And one of the things that quite a few people from the quite a few people giving public comments said were, nobody actually looks at that other manual. The odds that star riders are just going to know that off the top of their head is very slim. And I recall the feedback that we had gotten at that time being, oh yeah, that makes total sense. We're going to look at that again. So my question is if the idea is just the county does have all of that feedback, but is planning to look at it later when they look at everything else, that's one thing. If they're just like, oh, we're starting from zero again, I'm concerned. So I am very torn about this. I am glad to see that we have the proposals to comment on, but it doesn't seem like, it wasn't my understanding, and I don't think it was other people's understanding that this was the way things were going to work. So again, I'm a little concerned and confused. I'll just say it that way. And I think we may have some folks here at this meeting listening in who are concerned about the same thing, I believe. I know there were a couple of people that asked me, for the link to this meeting. So I think we probably have some folks that feel the same way here with us now.
Okay, well, we're going to keep the comment to the committee and staff at this point. We've passed public comment. So what else did you cover at the meeting today?
The other things that we covered, we had a few presentations, although most of the meeting was taken up with people giving public comment on this, and again being concerned that they had already commented, and that we had, our understanding had been that their proposals were going to be looked at again, and Lynn made very clear tonight that that is not what happened. Again, I don't know whether, I had that impression falsely, but it certainly seems like I'm not the only person who did. So I am very concerned that, what's going on, how's it going on? I do look forward to there being a public comment process, but I'm really troubled by this.
Okay, anybody else on the committee like to comment?
Yeah, I was not surprised that they had the same proposal, but I have the same kind of negative proposal, negative view of the proposal that I did 6 months ago or 9 months ago or whenever it was. In particular, I felt that it was a study that was undertaken to see if we could, if looking at comparable systems and seeing if we could save money and still meet ADA standards by finding some other jurisdictions which were doing less than we were, but still considered to be meeting ADA standards. And I don't think that is a very good way to undertake a study, but that was my view of how it was undertaken. So it wasn't, I mean, there are other ways you could do it. Can we, within the same budget, can we bring better service by making some changes or other things? But I think that the way the study was done was to look for ways to cut service, and as I say, still be within ADA, and had some bad aspects. I thought, for example, people going to medical appointments, having to schedule in advance their pickup, and it may be very costly to the system, but I don't know anyone who goes to doctors who knows when they're done.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that comment on the proposal. Again, I mean, I'm not entirely shocked that nothing changed, but I do have this sense that people were, I guess, trying to thread a delicate needle and make people feel listened to, but then it just ended up, oh, we're back to square one with this. And I mean, part of it may just be, how public comment needs to work, but I think we've got some angry people, and I think they're probably angrier now. I'll just say it that way.
I had another procedural concern, which was I was given the impression that this might be something that they wouldn't need to send to the county board because it was just an operational change. And I think the change is large enough, the proposed change is large enough that it should certainly go before the county board.
I agree with that as well. I do have the sense that there has been kind of a pattern of trying to change the policies and, give just enough information to people that people feel like they can say something, but not really, without really any way for, their concerns to be clearly addressed. So I have that concern as well.
And the Commission on Aging did send a letter to the county board on it, and I can I'll share that with John, and you can decide whether it should be distributed or not.
Okay. All right. Any comment from staff on this?
Yes, I can respond and actually share the same information that I shared during the previous accessibility subcommittee. That no, we hadn't changed the proposals because we'd only shared them with the committees, and that our next step was to take it to the public for public engagement. And as we all know, there was change in staff, so we just literally halted everything. We did not change anything about it and thought it would be fair to share it with the public at large to get feedback. And again, these are recommendations, these are proposals, and that's all they are right now. And I think there's some concern that there were changes underway that we would not listen to or react to feedback. And without having the public at large giving feedback, we would be doing a disservice. So that's literally where we are right now, is to do public outreach, just as you heard with regards to the South George Mason Trail and those changes. We have to go through the same public comment period, and that hasn't happened yet. And so that's what we believe is right, and is the next thing to do.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn, for sharing that.
Sure.
Okay, any more discussion from the subcommittee?
I have nothing additional.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't really either. I mean, I don't think that staff are in an enviable position. So, you know, I hate to sound like I'm picking on them, but at the same time, I can understand why people are concerned, and I'm a little frustrated myself as well. So.
Okay. Well, I'm glad Lynn could share with us about where they are in the process, and sometimes the processes do take quite a while. So we'll look forward to reports in the future as the process continues on this.
Understood.
All right,
Thank
next
you.
item here. Thank you, Alexa. Next item here are TAC charter changes.
Good evening again. Just wanted to give everyone an update. Last September, actually, we had discussions in regards to potential changes to the TAC charter. And it was supposed to be a nexus between the TAC charter as well as the Bicycle Advisory Committee, as well as the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And those charters are in the final stages of review. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we will have something to share at the May TAC meeting to link all the three charts together. So staff has been working a lot to get this into some form to share, and we are slowly getting there, and we will hopefully be there by May. But I don't have any other updates at this time.
Okay, great, Pierre. Appreciate that. So I guess your goal would be to get it to us ahead of the meeting so we could review it in advance?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, I see Kirk's hand is up.
Yes, I just I wanted to follow up with the answer to the question that I couldn't answer earlier. So this year's CIP, the capital monies is 24.1. The last year's was 22.8, so there's a $1.3 million increase. Does that answer the question that had been posed to me?
Okay, thanks, Kirk. I appreciate that.
All right.
Okay, any additional items from the committee members and staff? Okay, so hearing none, our next meeting is going to be May 9th, and that'll be a virtual meeting. And then in July, I guess at a date to be determined in July, we'll be having the capital projects tour. And I just want to encourage everybody to try and go on that tour if you're at all possible, because it really is fascinating to get out there and see these projects firsthand and hear from staff how, how things are going and what the plan is, and be able to, see them firsthand. Nothing beats a field inspection trip, as we used to say. All right, so do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you all very much for participating tonight. It's been an interesting meeting. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.